Hello, welcome to West Ham Grumble here on Irons United with me, Alf Gasparo. Yeah, look, let's face it, you were expecting this, weren't you? We welcomed, we entertained Man City, Pep Guardiola's Man City, the Invincibles. Everybody raves about them. And they came down to London Stadium on Saturday and they put 5 past us. Yes, gave us a big slap in the face just to put out our flames of enthusiasm. Yeah, I was just like probably every other fan who got really excited, as I always do before the start of the season, actually. And I always think that we're going to win the league or win the FA Cup, and I always think that we're going to beat any team. But let's face it, I'm a deluded old prat, and I'm possibly just, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, because we were just short, weren't we? We were short all over the pitch. Now, this is where I have a problem with Pellegrini, because we are almost trying to go toe-to-toe with Man City. Now, on one hand, I'm really fed up at how good they are and how much money they've been able to spend and buying the best players, and everybody keeps on waxing lyrical about how fantastic, you know, Pep Guardiola is. I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of them coming down to our stadium and putting 4 or 5 past us, you know, every time. I'm just fed up of it. I'm fed up of how they're going over teams. But what I'm more fed up of is how we, as our team, we are not putting up a fight against them. It's naivety to think that we are as good as them. It's naivety to think that we can go toe-to-toe and play as well as them. It's naivety to think that, you know what, it doesn't matter how many they score, we're going to score more. It doesn't matter what deluded enthusiasm I have, I know for a fact that you've got to stop them playing. Now, for the first 20 minutes, I thought that we were kind of holding our own. We were rushing them a little bit, we were pressurising, we were playing some good interchange of football, some, you know, nice work down the right-hand side. Left side wasn't really being used at all. If you notice throughout the whole match, Cresswell was out there on his own, you know, waiting for the ball, calling for the ball. Nobody was going there. He was making mistakes on the left-hand side. Fredericks was making mistakes on the right-hand side. Balbuena and Diop in the centre were making mistakes. Fabianski was doing his best at the back, but, you know, he can't do it all. Rice was kind of in and out the game in front of the back four as well, but he did make some crucial interceptions as well. But it's all the other players as well. You know, Lanzini was, you know, in and out, dropping to the floor a lot. Yeah, he had a couple of shouts for, you know, for penalties, but let's face it, the first one was, you know, he dropped to the floor. Anderson was, you know, he had a few wayward passes, he was kind of getting into the play, and then all of a sudden he'd lose the ball and he'd just stand there. He was like, he'd say, well, okay, well, they got the ball off me, I'm just not going to fight for the ball now. He said, well, that's not the way you play against Man City, for a start. Wilshere was getting fouled all over the place. I will say this about Man City, however good they are a bunch of foulers now, especially with that new fella, Rodrigo. He was causing so many fouls. That 5th goal, you know, they should have stopped the play there for a blatant foul on our player in the, well, I think it was about just over the halfway line. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Haller or somebody like that. But look, no matter how good they are, we allowed them to be good. We allowed them to have that space to move around. And I know this is easier said than done. And I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, well, look, they're just too good for us. We're not. Yeah, they are too good for us. But it doesn't mean we have to make it easy for them. For the first half, I thought, certainly for the first 20 minutes, we were holding our own. Then they broke free on the right-hand side. Look, speed there is amazing. They whipped the ball across. Diop got a nick on it, and that's why, you know, it kind of fed onto Jesus's foot, and he got it, you know, past Fabianski. But you could see how frustrated Diop was with that, and you could see how that affected him for the rest of the game, because he was making lots of mistakes thereafter. You know, wayward passes. It looked as if we started to get nervous at the back and nervous in midfield as well. What we've got to understand as fans, as a club, as players, is that when we play a team like Man City, you cannot go toe-to-toe for 20 minutes. You cannot go toe-to-toe for 35, 47, 50 minutes. What you have to do is go toe-to-toe for 95 minutes, for 100 minutes. That means, you know, from before the game, during the game, right after the game, you are in their faces, you are stopping them playing. There has to be a rage intensity. There has to be something there that you're saying, right, we're not going to let these these chaps play. But we didn't have that. We didn't have that intensity, especially in the second half. I think we had a bit of it in the first half. As I say, so there's some good play, there's a bit of urgency, but we certainly didn't have it in the second half. I'll give you an example. Okay, Haller, I thought had a reasonable game. I thought his hold-up play was really good. He was linking out as well. But, you know, he was unfortunate because he wasn't getting good service. When he was getting good decent service, decent crosses to him, a lot of it was at chest height and or over his head. Well, if that's the case, we might as well have kept Carroll. You know, if we're gonna have a player like that, you might as well have kept Carroll, because the service to him was, you know, just as poor as well. But Haller is, you know, I think he's going to be a quality player this season for us. But, you know, when you've got a player like Haller, you've got to feed into him as well. And you've got to feed off the other players. That kind of, whilst we were trying to play, you could see we weren't playing well enough. But as soon as we lost the ball, or the ball went back to their keeper, there was no pressurising on their keeper. Haller was actually running into the 18-yard box, towards the 6-yard box, where the keeper had the ball. And as soon as you got within, let's say, 10 feet of him, then he'd peel away and start running after a defender. But where's the pressure on the keeper? Where is the pressure on the keeper to actually say, right, I'm going to rush you so that you make a mistake? Now, everybody keeps on going on about Man City and Pep Guardiola and his bloody search for a perfect footballing bloody goalkeeper, you know, Ederson. Well, do you know why he's a good goalkeeper, good footballing goalkeeper? Because he's allowed to have the bloody space to do so. I'd be a bloody, you know, great footballing goalkeeper if I had all the space. That's what we need to close down. If you notice, now, you know, I know he's a snake and I'm not going to go there, but one thing Arnautovic had in his favour when he wanted to play, is that he would rush the goalkeeper. He would run at the goalkeeper. That's what they need to do. They need to run at the goalkeeper. You know, run at the players, close down the defences. Yes, I'm not saying, you know, just, you know, lose all, you know, sense of discipline. But what I'm saying, rush that keeper, rush the players, put them under pressure, force them into you know, mistakes. And do you know what this takes? This takes hyper energy to do this. Yeah, I know it's the first game of the season, and I know it's a tough ask and everything, but that's what it takes to get a result. I'm not saying winning, but I'm saying get a result. Or stopping the score, you know, looking like a cricket score. Because that's what it was. It was kind of embarrassing towards the end. We just sort of gave up. Antonio, I thought, just didn't, you know, he was making some decent runs. He was trying to use some energy, but he looks a bit big again this season. That might be unfair to him, because he just might be bigger than the surrounding players who might be, you know, slight. Van Aals was on the bench. He came on, didn't have much of an impact, really. Hernandez came on. Look, he had a knee shot, you know, that Ederson saved. He pulled off a double great save there. We had another opportunity in the second half with Diop, a header, I think it was, you know. But you know, Snodgrass came on, put some decent crosses in, you know, and I think that's where we've got to be looking at and say, well, actually, who's going to be putting in decent crosses for us? Or, you know, taking decent corners. We just didn't have enough opportunities on goal, shots on target. We're playing, you know, we're trying to play, you know, nice, neat football, you know, trying to skillful football. We've got the players to be skillful. But I think it's a naivety, as I said before, naivety of Pellegrini to think that we, as West Ham, right now, where we are right now, can try and play that kind of football against Man City. Now, we want to play that kind of game of football against, you know, like a Wolves or a Brighton or a Bournemouth or whatever. Absolutely right. That's what we want to see. We want to see good, flowing, skillful, entertaining football. We, you know, want to see, you know, players running off each other, you know, for space and all that kind of stuff, and actually getting loads of shots on goal. But we're not going to be playing that against the likes of Man City. I thought he'd learnt his lesson from last season, Pellegrini, on this, but I don't think he has. I just don't think he has. I just don't think that we had the ability to actually stop Man City from playing, especially in the second. Well, especially after the first goal went in the first half, and we kind of howled out. Let's be fair, into the first half, into half time, and then in the second half, we just kind of, you know, the leaves all fell off the tree, really, didn't they? I think we've got to look at how we want to play the game and how we want to play each individual match. I know you are all going to be putting comments below, and please do if you agree with me or disagree with me or whatever. But this is something I want you to consider. Would the likes of a Mourinho or a Sam Allardyce, I know, God, the devil incarnate, right? Would they have fared better? Would their kind of tactics fared better? And I'll tell you what, whilst, you know, forget about Allardyce, let's just talk about Mourinho. I think his sort of tactics in this game would have worked better. In fact, I'm sure of it. Because you stop the opposition, you counteract the opposition. You're not letting the opposition, you're not letting the best team in the land be the best team in the land. You're not enabling them to just show off. And that's what we did. I'm gutted. I'm actually gutted because I thought that we could get a result. You know, I was speaking with all the lads before. We were all having predictions, and I was saying, "Yeah, 3-2, we're going to win this." You know, I was, you know, hugging my lads, and I was saying, "Yeah, God, we're going to win this." Even when they scored the first goal, I was going, "Yeah, I think we can do this. I think we can do this." Because at that point, we were playing reasonably well. But we've got to understand that we can't just play that way for 20 minutes. We've got to play more. We've got to play with greater intensity. We just can't let it slip for 1 minute. Because the likes of, you know, Man City's, Liverpool's, you know, any other very skillful, very pacey team, very great passing teams will actually just knock us for 6 or 5 in this case. Look, this has been my West Ham Grumble for this week. You know, I wanted it to be an oi show, you know, but it just wasn't going to happen. We've got a lot of work to do. The gulf between us and that top 7, top 8 finish is immense. That gulf between us and a top 4 is immense. I think if we are aiming to improve this season, and I know it's only one game, and I know it's only the first game of the season, and I know it's Man City, and don't keep on going on about Man City, how good they are, because that really hacks me off. But I think if we're looking at that, we've got to change the way we play from game to game. We've got to match tactics to opposition. We cannot go into games and say, yeah, we're West Ham, we're going to play our way. It's not going to work. That's not going to work. Yes, we need to have drive going forward. Yes, we need to be more skillful. We've got the players to do that, but we need to have discipline there and to, you know, stop them opposition playing. You know, just because we have Man City at home doesn't mean that we can't, you know, be on the defensive a little bit more. And that, you know, when we talk about defence, we're not talking about a back four here, and plus, you know, Fabianski is, let's face it, is probably going to be our lifeline again this season. It's actually going forward, defending all over the park. The greatest teams in the world, you know, throughout history, let's say, defended all over the pitch. Look at the way Man City play. Look at the way Barcelona played. You know, any other team, you know, Juventus, Man United of old, you know, they would play and defend and attack all over the pitch. And we've got too many players, I think. We got caught like rabbits caught in the headlights, and they were just sort of stood around, and then they lost the ball and they just stood around. Or they got fouled, or they got nicked, and they were kind of going, "Oh, look, come on, you know, what about for the free kick?" You know, as I say, there wasn't that rage, there wasn't that intensity. Look, we think, right, that we've played Man City, said, okay, let's just forget about that. Our season starts now against, you know, Brighton next, is it? Oh, yeah? Anybody catch a result, Brighton? Yeah, we've got to hit the ground running now, you know, because there's no easy games now. There aren't any easy opposition. Everybody's trying to improve and trying to, you know, play better and be better all over the pitch. And we've got to be better all over the pitch as well. I want to be charitable because, you know, it's the first game of the season. We've got a few newer additions as well. And it hasn't quite clicked yet. And whilst I'm still, you know, optimistic for the season, I still think we're, you know, we could finish a 7th or an 8th, realistically an 8th, I think. I think we, you know, to achieve that or to achieve better, we need to improve. Pellegrini needs to look at how he is setting up his teams against the bigger teams, the better teams, but also individual players, how they're hooking up as well. Yeah, we got problems on the left-hand side with Cresswell, but also we've got to, you know, widen our field of view, because if you're just going down the right-hand side and ignoring, you know, open area, that, you know, a whole third of the pitch where Cresswell was just completely open for him. If you're just going down that right-hand side, then you've got to look at that in analysis and say, okay, Lanzini or whoever it was, Wilshere, whoever it was, we kept on going down the right-hand side, feeding the ball down the right-hand side. Why aren't you going down the left-hand side? Have an open discussion just to talk about it. You've got to say, we go left, we go, you know, we go right, we go left. You know, we mix it up. Otherwise, we become too predictable. We're going down the right-hand side all the whole time. We're open for Fredericks to just bomb down the right-hand side and trying to whip in a ball. But his delivery, you know, his crosses weren't that great, apart from a couple. So, whilst we looked good in parts, we kind of let ourselves down a lot, and we let them play a lot. And that's the most disappointing thing, because in many ways, we haven't moved on from last season or the season before. We've just let the opposition play. We haven't played enough for you know, the whole match, 90 minutes. Now, you know, whilst a lot of people could talk about VAR and everything, you know, the problem with VAR is this: it is fundamentally coming out with the right decisions. But for a fan, whether you're in the stadium, you don't know anything, or even actually whether you're watching it on a stream or watching it on TV, you still don't know anything as well. Even the commentators on TV, on the highlights and, you know, and the live feeds as well, they weren't even sure what was going on. A couple of those offside decisions were so marginal. It was like half a hair width on an armpit or something. You know, and it wasn't even in line. They had to take an off-center view with a 3-dimensional image. Well, then that's weird as well. You know, it's whilst the technology is there, and it's stopped starting as well. But the problem is this: if we have this VAR, we've had it for about 2 or 3 years, you know, around the globe. They've been using it to good effect. But the problem is, for the fan, the experience is just not good enough. Nobody can tell me that you can't have live feeds into the stadium, into the screens to show exactly what they're looking at, as they do in rugby. Why can't they have, like, you know, the ref mic'd up to actually speak over a tannoy system and say what his actual decision is? Or explain his decision. You know, like in American football, where the referee goes like that and says, you know, offside, you know, 35-yard line or whatever they bloody hell say over there. You know, why can't we say that? Okay, retake the penalty. Fabianski's goalkeeper's foot was off the line, encroaching as well. Okay, everybody says, oh, okay, that's the reason why you have to retake the penalty. You know, so that's the reason. They've got a lot of work to do on this VAR, of course. But look, it's one of those things. You're going to get some decisions go your way, but you're going to get some decisions go against you. But fundamentally, most of those decisions are going to be right decisions. But the problem is, if you're going to revert to VAR every single decision, it's going to be stop-start. So you've got to make that interaction with fans better. There's a lot to moan about. There's a lot to grumble about in this game. Of course there is. I could go on for another 10 hours moaning. And I think you could as well. You know, hand on heart, we all had higher expectations. We all believed that, you know, we could do better. But we haven't. We haven't done better. And we've let Man City come and play their brand of football and rip us apart. And that should never have happened. And that is a travesty. No, that's criminal. We've allowed them to be good. And you don't come to our house and be good. It's as simple as that. We've got to stop them playing, stop any opposition playing, and we actually got to start producing and scoring goals. We thought we'd score more goals this season than we'd let in. Or we hoped we would. Yeah. What I saw yesterday, I think we're going to still struggle going forward as well. We've got to do better. Right, that's been the West Ham Grumble this week. Catch you on the next one. Leave loads of comments, like, share, subscribe, and all that kind of good stuff. And I'll catch you on the next video, well, after the next game. Ta-da.